Hey guys, welcome back. This is the lecture number 71 from our bootcamp series. In the last lecture, we discussed about member and collection routing. In this lecture, we will discuss the namespace and scope routing. So let's start with the namespace routing first. So namespace routing is used when you want to organize group of controllers under a namespace. Okay, for example, let's open the controller folder. Here you can see that we have all the controllers placed inside the controller folder now in the app directory. Okay, but now for example you want to keep all the backend stuffs like controlling crud, importing and exporting data and so on for admin users only or for the administrative purpose only. So you would like to organize your controllers, or you can also say it as resource under admin namespace. Okay, and using this namespace you can separate the functionalities critical to your app and that are usable only for administrative purpose. Okay, so in that case you can use the namespace routing. Okay, and so for creating a namespace routing you need to create the directory at app controllers and provide the name to it, and the name must be the name you want to choose for your namespace purpose. Okay, so let's say we want to organize our controllers under admin namespace. So first we need to create a folder with admin name in app controllers. Okay, so here we need to create first a folder. So let's name the folder as admin. Okay, now you have created a folder with admin name. Now what you need to do that in the routes file you need to define the students route inside the admin namespace. So this is how you can do that: namespace admin do. Okay, and here you can provide resources students. Okay, the rest of the definition of resources into the namespaces will be the same as you define your resources normally. Okay, but this is how you can define your namespace resources. So what is the meaning of the syntax is that when you write namespace admin, okay, that means your router will find the admin directory into the app controllers, and in that app controllers admin folder it will look for the students controller. Okay, so now let's create a students controller into the admin directory. Okay, and I'm just trying to show you that how we can create our namespace controllers. However, we're not gonna implement all the CRUD operation and all the action here in this lecture. Okay, and definitely we will do that in upcoming lecture when we work with the admin stuff. But for now, we will just add it for uh, the example purpose, or just try to understand that how we can create namespace controllers. So in admin folder, let's create a file and save it as students controller .rb. Okay, the naming will be the same as you create your normal controllers. Okay, and now how you can define that: just like class admin and then students controller, and let's inherit it by this application controller only and make it. Okay, let me write a to do note here: to do implement CRUD operations later. Okay, we will come back to this uh, controller when we work with our admin panel. Okay, and or when we create our admin namespace uh, for this course project. Okay, now we saw how we can create a controller for a namespace resource. Okay, so now it's time to see the routes for this admin namespace. Okay, so let's save this and go to the terminal, and in the terminal let's open all the routes first, make it clear, and then you can run your rails routes web students, or rather than students, just try to find admin. Okay, and this will show you all the resources, student resources prefixed with admin. So here you can see that when you use as namespace resource, it prefix your student resource or your resource path with admin prefix. Okay, so here you can see that we have admin student, and now it is pointing to the admin students inside the admin folder, app controllers admin, and then students controller. When you check the link for new student in admin namespace, you will find the new admin student, then it's admin student, and then admin student for get, patch, put, and delete. So what we can see that our namespace routes has added admin prefix to the resource we defined under that namespace. Okay, now there is another possibility of using this namespace resources without using admin prefix in your route urls. You can do it using scope. So you can use scope here, let's say scope, and then you can use module. Okay, so now when you save it and when you run the rails routes for the admin, you can see that this scope is still point to the controller at this controller, into the app controllers admin. Okay, but it will remove the admin prefix from the urls. Okay, so let's try to see this, how what we can see here. Rails routes group admin. Okay, so you can see that it is pointing slash students for get, slash students for post, and pointing to the admin controllers student create, get students new, admin controller students new action, admin controller students edit action for id edit and all that. So we are still pointing to the namespace controller, but now we removed the admin prefix from the URL. Okay, so if you want to avoid that prefix, you can use this format like scope module, and then provide a namespace here, and then usually define your resources. But usually this is very rarely used, because generally we just want to add prefix into the URL. So that's why we use namespace routing most of the times. Okay, so let's convert it into the namespace. Save the file. And now let's talk about the scope writing. Okay, suppose you want to add admin prefix to your routes, but you don't want to add namespace in your controller. Okay, and just like to point routes for your normal resource, that you can use scope. Okay, just like let's say resources, let's not resources admin, it's scope admin do, and into that resources you can define resources students and save the file. Now for now, just to check the routes, let's comment this namespace, save the file, and clear the terminal, and now check for the rails routes admin. Okay, so you will see that now we will still see the admin prefixed route for students controller, but now we are not pointing, or the router not point the request or the route for the admin namespace controller. Rather, it will go to the normal students controller and point your request there. So you can see here that you can still see that admin students, but it is pointing to the students controllers index section. Admin students, you can see students create action, admin students new action, admin students id students edit form, and then so for show update and destroy action. Okay, so this is the difference between when you use namespace routing and scope routing. Okay, or when you add routes for your namespace controllers, or using scope. Okay, so what things you have to remember with differentiate with namespace and scope is that when you use namespace routing or namespace resources, that means you have to create a separate directory inside the app controllers for storing your controllers into that namespace, and then you can define namespace routes in your routes.rb. And if you want to add just prefix but don't want to create namespace, then you can simply use scope routing. Okay, so that's all from this lecture. In the next lecture we will discuss about active support concern. So thanks for watching this, and let's meet into the next lecture. Till then, tata, goodbye, take care, and stay safe.